It's Sunday, December 6th, 2020, and I thought I would just talk about some items in Palaver I have observation. This interesting film was made by a man named Wolfgang Stout. I saw it advertised at Seattle Public Library back in 2005, 2006. He used to make films with Goebbels. He ended up with the East Germans. There's something about it. It was overly suggestive to me about Third Reich filmmakers maybe helping Hollywood get this guy safely out. Here he goes with his favorite Jewish woman, Leni Riefenstahl, who made Triumph of the Will, and that did some things in Africa. If you follow me, because I know that some of the fascists from Britain have inverted the truth and told the opposite of what is true with respect to me and gotten away with it. I sometimes wonder what the double intention of the famous Dewey Defeats Truman newspaper might have been, in light of some of the scurrilous and ridiculous things that came out of this guy's mouth about me. And you see, when you go back, the days when I was a child, you weren't to question Israel. This boycott Israel stuff was totally, you were to trust them. You know, they had it bad. So when you see the Promised Land on an image of Schizoid Man, which was played for me by the Ian Corporation, who would think Yad Vashem? Didn't Ian tell you about Yad Vashem? And when you go deaf, you're not supposed to see the suicide gesture pointing at the ear from the Japanese woman. What you're supposed to think instead is that poor Jimmy Query embarrassed his father. We got him on sci films. What's going on with Paranoid Jim Quang? That's what you're supposed to think. And you get these letters from Israel talking about calling me Egg, which was the name of a Japanese pornography company, and Goto slash with an oblique stroke. Start to see the tip of the clues behind the aggressive observationing of the child who was mutilated, and the way that notorious losers pose in imagery their plan to find the script and say what's going on. Goebbels had an exhibit called The Eternal Jew. So we know that scurrilous and sniveling portrayals of the queer bait go way back. And similarly, you find images like Charlie Chaplin, but the reverse coming out. Notice the guy at the Eiffel Tower with the Charlie Chaplin comedian. Chaplin was notorious for putting on a show called The Great Dictator, where he mocked Adolf Hitler. On my father's ship, they dressed up as pirates, and guess where I was? About to be born when the Pirates won their famous World Series. And I ended up in a maze of Mazeroski, where I was getting letters about ick, and erroneous deceitful accusations from the people who put effigies of Gail Burston on the cover of their rock albums, who wrote the letters from Israel, ik, ik. While planning from the Friends meeting to say that Casper was a friendly ghost, this is taken outside at the welcoming door of the neighbor to the Friends meeting. And of course, they knew that a neuroplastic had been implanted in the queerbait. And they were selling. It will be just like starting over. There's another effigy of Burston from an Ayn Rand film. She specialized in the sacred disappearance of the super powerful and rich. And where do they show up after they disappear, you know? But Seattle Center, it's got some ick they want to stick in your mouth. You see from the Oswald Diary, so the mysterious double outside the Dakota and in D.C. where this contraption group had me plays their fiddle-dee-dee when coming for Shannon harps. To underscore that Paul McCartney don't play games when it comes to a sacred penny. He will send in the Ripper Hatter ass rapists from Carnegie Mellon and Auburn, Washington. And you know Candy's head want the direction Dan Rather would rather have you say, just as they play like they have no idea what was going on with the Virgin, so we'll just ick the hippie dude who could have saved. And if you look at the script, you see that there's reason to believe fishy, that Dee Dee, the people who made the film Serpico, were in on it all along. It was victory and revenge planning. Yes, they were in on it all along. And they say no, of course no. And make a good deal of mockery of the Qual thing. In the radiant game of names, so there are things to observation in what they took place. There are things to misunderstand, like that old U.S. over the swastika, that don't mean, don't go saying. We don't see no mysterious glove there. We don't go to try to pick up no mysterious glove. We don't see no similarity between the Ripper Hatter and the caseworker keeping his eye on the threat to the Paul McCartney penny. We don't see them marks sticking in your mouth. We don't see that, no. We don't see that, no. We don't see no mention of Kyra. We don't see no mention of Kyra. We don't see the name Kyra and the pills that cause measles. We don't see no Beth Ovens Street. We don't see that, no. We don't see no CMU having a game going with the New York Times already to promote the theme park of Peter Peter. We don't see that, no. We don't see the similarity between dearth and deaf. We don't see that, no. What we see instead is Zappa thinks it's courageous to pick on the innocent. There's only one word for punk. And you can get a punk passport. Did you know that? You can be punk, the very epitome of punk. You can join the epitome of punk party by picking on Jimmy Queerbait. Did you know that? And only two people would know. Only two people would know why there were semiotics about the situation in Thailand magazines. Only two people would know. One of them is a very mysterious nobody. But only two people would know who Nabucco is and what her stupid code about what boys should do and girls should do is. Only two people would know why the Dalai Lama is chatting with the mesmer of Kasparowski. Only two people would know why they're laughing so hard on 119. Only two people would know what VNR planning is. Only two people would know why they're covering their ears when they shoot. And what's that rerouted motorcade symbol? Only two people would know who Jill was, who gave the purple disc thing up, and not remember what the Queerbait did, only that having to do it nearly killed him, she goes. And of course, blondes have more fun. They tell me I am wrong. Who tells me I am wrong? The people who say that Holy Israel would never, ever do anything wrong, and you are the one who's wrong, who's evil for believing that something like Gail Burstyn appeared on the Coward Frips record, and that has something to do with the D.W. Griffith Authority that promotes black men with names of the Old South to signify their power structure in the Green Party. Oh no, you don't know. You don't, nobody believes that stuff. Nobody, no. So you don't have to feel lonely that you don't believe it, because nobody believes it. You don't have to feel left out. It's a family affair. You don't have to be suspicious. So John Wayne is there with Lee Harvey Oswald right behind him. You don't have, because only two people would know. And one of them is still trying to be an honorary of the black man in D.W. Griffith's portrayal of the ark that's going to rise again. When there's no more room in hell, the South will rise again. And we can prove that, yes. See, Poe is the walrus. Poor Edgar Allan Poe thought he beat the friendly ghost. Now, he is to blame. He is to blame. And little Jimmy Queerbait ain't even no walrus, man.